Heard of Viagra or Cialis? Maybe you've even tried them. No judgment here from me. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, meet Rougiette Ready. And Rougiette is spelled R-U-G, like rug, and I-E-T. Other companies rely on similar ingredients to support blood flow, but Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to help amplify arousal in the brain and increase blood flow. The 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue to absorb fast, so you'll be ready in just 15 minutes on average, not hours, and effects can last up to 36 hours. That means you can stay confident, present, and in control when the moment's right. And if you want proof, over 150,000 men have made the switch, and you could read their customer reviews right on the site. Getting started is simple. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships quickly to your door. Connect with your provider at rougiette.com/James. You got to use my special code. Rougiette and I have worked out a deal. So rougiette.com, that's RUGIET.com/James, to see if a Rougiette Ready prescription is right for you. Just use code James to get 15% off. That's RUGIET.com/James and use promo code James to get 15% off today.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
I was very honored to be on the Smart Humans podcast. It's a very excellent podcast. I'm a fan of it, and I was very happy they asked me to go on, even though so many times in my life, and I'm not even trying to be self-deprecating, but I honestly feel I'm not as smart as I should be in many areas of my life. Sometimes I'm very stupid in many areas of my life. But I do talk about some things that I don't normally talk about on this podcast, which is my specific predictions for certain investments like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tau, certain coins relating to stablecoins like Curve and Aave. I also talk about AI and where I think AI is going across different industries. And I talk about various habits that have helped me build and sell companies, but also bad habits that caused me to go broke and so on. And again, I give my predictions on a whole bunch of investments, including TauX and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Curve and so on. So across the board, mostly about investing and habits, but I hope we're re-releasing the Smart Humans episode with me on our podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Smart Humans. I am super excited for today's guest. He has many talents. James Altucher, welcome.
Thanks for having me on the show. Such a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So we're trying to figure out what would be the one title to give you. That was pretty difficult because you have so many talents, whether James, the author, the podcaster, the entrepreneur, the investor. So we're going to cover all of these things. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's always hard when people say, "Oh, what's your bio?" You know, I just I've always done whatever has interested me, and so that means I've switched careers quite a few times, and for better or for worse. I think if I had stayed in one career, maybe the whole time, maybe things would be different. But I don't know. It's also been great diversifying the things I've learned and then the careers I've built up, and sometimes they intersect, which is very powerful.
Perfect segue, which is this is a show focused on alternative investments, but we really like to get to know the people first, how they think about investing and their own net worth. Go back as far as you'd like, whether it's birth, grade school, high school, early jobs, wherever you want to go. Tell us how you became you and how you got into the world of alternative investments. Go back as far as you'd like.
Yeah, so I studied computer science. I loved computer science. I went undergrad and grad school computer science. But then I fell out of love with, I was neck deep into technology, computers, AI in particular. This is in the 80s going into the 90s. So I'm a bit older. And I then lost interest completely. And I wanted to write the great American novel like many young people do. And wrote a bunch of novels that were really horrible and had no money. So finally, I needed to get a job as a programmer somewhere, moved to New York City, got a job working for HBO. And one thing I knew how to do, which at the time in the mid 90s, nobody else knew how to do, was I knew how to make a website. So there was maybe 10 people in New York City who knew how to make a website. And I'm not even exaggerating how few people knew how to make one. Like there were very few people at that time, like 1994, 1995, who knew how to make a website. And so at one point, HBO needed a website. So I built theirs. And at another point, American Express didn't have a website. They needed a website. And they asked Arthur Andersen, their accounting firm. Arthur Andersen said, sure, we could do it, but they didn't know how to do it. So they asked some consulting firm, didn't know how to do it. They asked some CD-ROM company, which some people might know what a CD-ROM is. They didn't know how to do it. And eventually they asked me. And I said, sure, I know how to do it. So I'm sure Arthur Andersen got tens of billions of dollars to do the website, but I got some money, $200,000 to do this website. My salary at HBO was $40,000 a year. And
Wow.
suddenly my brother-in-law and he was a designer and I was a software guy. We made this website, the entire AmericanExpress.com by ourselves. And
What year is that? Is that 94 or 95 or
94 and 95.
amazing?
So, and I was totally dead broke. Like I had never seen money like this in my life, but I didn't want to leave HBO. I was too scared. Like, oh, this is not yet. Who knows if this internet thing's I was excited about the internet, but it was surprising to me that all these companies, needed websites. So, but eventually we realized this is here to stay and every company on the planet is going to make a website and we know how to make websites and we could do them really fast. So I started a company on the side. And while I was still a junior programmer analyst at HBO, that was my title at HBO, but I started a company called Reset and we made websites for all the record labels in town, like Loud Records, Bad Boy Records, Interscope Records. We made for all the movie studios, Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, Miramax. I noticed in that I just named the companies of several people who are now considered criminals, but hey, that's decades ago. And then when I sold the company, I thought I was a genius. I sold this company for $15 million. Was broke when I started it. And I figured, okay, since I'm such a genius, I'll invest it. And what a bad decision that was because I didn't know anything about investing. And
You invested in the public markets, private markets, or
public markets, like stock markets.
Yeah,
because everything was booming. It was the internet in the 90s. And there's three skills to money. There's making it, keeping it, growing it. And I knew how to make it, but I was very poor at keeping it. And so I went from literally 15 million cash in the bank to losing all of it. And it was not like I spent it. I was losing it on really bad investing decisions.
meaning like pets.com and things like that, or
kind of, yeah. I mean, I didn't specifically do that one, but let's say things like that. And then I didn't really understand. It's not just about picking stocks. It's about managing risk. It's about appropriate due diligence and diversifying. It's about money management. So I didn't have there's a lot of skills to making money. And there's a lot of skills to investing. And I probably didn't have any of them except optimism. You do need to be optimistic to be a good investor, but I had too much optimism probably. And I just didn't understand anything about how the mechanics of investing worked. So I remember one time, I was going broke. I had all this money and I thought I had won the lottery. Like, when is the internet going to come around again? Like a new internet. And then I remember looking at my bank account once at an ATM machine and I had $143 left in my account. The same account that at one point had 15 million in it. And I had no money left and I was going to lose my house. I had two little babies I needed to feed. My parents didn't want to lend me. I wanted to borrow $1,000 once. This is after having 15 million and helping them buy a house. I asked my parents for a loan of $1,000 for just a weekend. They didn't want to give it to me. They thought this would be a good lesson for me. Perhaps it was. And I was scared and depressed and broke. And I was ashamed. I was ashamed to even tell anyone what was happening to me. And, so I had to kind of remake myself, not only as an entrepreneur or someone who knows how to make money, but I had to figure out like how to get out of this depression. I was just unbelievably sad that I thought I had won the lottery and then lost all the money. And, it took a long time, like several years, but bit by bit, I did this practice, which I still do to this day, 10 ideas a day, which is I take a waiter's pad. I would go to a local cafe and I would start off the day by writing down 10 ideas, probably 10 bad ideas. But the important concept here is we all have this idea muscle. And like any muscle, it atrophies very quickly. Like if you don't walk for 2 weeks, you'll need physical therapy when you first get up to walk again. Like let's say you're in a hospital bed for 2 weeks, you'll need physical therapy to walk. That's how fast muscles atrophy. And I feel most people have creativity muscles or idea muscles that have atrophied. So that's what had happened to me. I was so obsessed with money and losing the money, and I was so scared that I had stopped being creative. So I had to re-exercise my idea muscle. And I would write 10 ideas every single day. And again, almost all of them were bad ideas. But then bit by bit, I noticed I was starting to get excited again for the first time in years. And I was starting to have ideas for other people, and I would share the ideas with other people. And that built me back up. That got me excited. That got me creative again. I started reading more. I started reaching out to people and like, here's 10 ideas for you. You don't have to respond to me. And I would do that all the time. And to this day, I still write down these 10 ideas a day. And several years later, I started my second company and sold that, made a lot of money. And then I went broke again.
What was that? What was that company?
That was called Stockpicker, and it was like a social media site for investors.
Got it.
And I sold it to thestreet.com, which was a public company at that time. It was run by Jim Cramer. And then a few years after that, I went broke again for pretty much the same reasons. But this time, I knew a little bit more what to do. I still got depressed and everything, but I really focused on creating these ideas and reaching out to people. And I was better at this point at investing. Like I started writing software to improve my investing because I was, I studied computers and I had studied AI. So I wrote basically programs to take myself out of the emotions of investing. And I built up a hedge fund, a fund of hedge funds. And so I was a professional investor based on this software I was writing. And then bit by bit, I did learn. Well, I was spending all my time. I was obsessed with investing. So I did learn after many, many years of hard work. I learned how to be an investor. I think, you can't ever be too confident in your investing skills because, men make plans and God laughs. So, and then, over time, I started more companies. I invested in some private companies that did very well. And that became my thing, investing in private companies. I was, pretty good at that. And then I started.
What year do you think you started doing that?
I started doing it in 2007, and it started paying off around 2012. And
Great.
There was a company I invested in called Buddy Media, which was like kind of like what I did for websites. Buddy Media
Mike
was doing
Lazarow, right?
Yeah, Michael Lazarow. So Buddy Media was like the picks and shovels of Facebook or Facebook marketing, just like I was the picks and shovels for the internet. Like corporations needed a website. So I didn't build a big fancy search engine. I was actually making profits. I didn't even understand business that sometimes you want to make a product instead of profits. But Buddy Media was kind of like what I did for the web, Mike Lazarow was doing for Facebook. But then he productized his offering and it became a very successful company and sold for like $700 million to Facebook. And I was a seed investor of that. And, and then I started getting into crypto and other kinds of investments. And then I've been a writer. I've written many books. My best-selling book is probably Choose Yourself, which kind of described going broke and how I got out of it and what my philosophy of life was. And, then in 2015, I started a research service about stocks and cryptos and entrepreneurship and built that up, sold it, but I'm still involved in it. I'm still the face of it, and I still do most of the writing or a lot of the writing for it. So yeah, and that's where I'm at now. I mean, there's a lot. I'm kind of skipping around. There's a lot more to the story. I owned a comedy club for a while. I was a stand-up comedian for a while. I've done all sorts of things, but we can focus on investing rather than stand-up comedy. Unless you want to talk about stand-up comedy, in which case I could talk about that.
I love it.
Take a quick break. If you like this episode, I'd really, really appreciate it. It would mean so much to me Please share it with your friends and subscribe to the podcast. Email me at altucher@gmail.com and tell me why you subscribed. Thanks. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. No judgment here from me. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, meet Rougiette Ready. And Rougiette is spelled R-U-G, like rug, and I-E-T. Other companies rely on similar ingredients to support blood flow, but Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to help amplify arousal in the brain and increase blood flow. So it makes you excited in the brain and it increases the blood flow where it's important. And if the usual pills still aren't doing the trick, Rougiette Ready could be the answer. It's a 3-in-1 formula, dissolves under your tongue to absorb fast, so it'll be ready in just 15 minutes on average, not hours, and effects can last up to 36 hours. That means you can stay confident, present, and in control when the moment's right. And if you want proof, over 150,000 men have made the switch, and you could read their customer reviews right on the site. Getting started is simple. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships quickly to your door. Connect with your provider at rougiette.com/James. You got to use my special code. Rougiette and I have worked out a deal. So rougiette.com, that's RUGIET.com/James, to see if a Rougiette Ready prescription is right for you. Just use code James to get 15% off. That's RUGIET.com/James and use promo code James to get 15% off today. Head to rougiette.com/James and use code James to get 15% off today. So if you use the code, you support the show, and it shows Rougiette that we sent you there. Now, individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Going online without ExpressVPN is like having sex without a condom. Most of the time, you might be fine, but the repercussions could be huge. I mean, every time you connect to an unencrypted network in a cafe, a hotel, an airport, your online data is not secure, and any hacker on the same network can gain access and steal your personal data, which is like passwords, bank logins, credit card. I'm paranoid about this all the time, which is why it's so important to use a VPN like ExpressVPN. Look, your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. And ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. First off, ExpressVPN is super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. It's easy to use. You just fire up the app and click one button and you get protected. Rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. Whenever I go to an airport or like if I'm at a cafe with my computer or whatever, I flip the switch, turn on ExpressVPN to protect myself. It is so important for me to protect my personal data. It should be personally important to you as well. So secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/Altucher, ALTUCHER. That's expressvpn.com/Altucher to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. expressvpn.com/Altucher.
Searching for a romantic summer getaway? Escape with Rich Girl Summer, the new Audible original from Lily Chu. The exquisitely talented Philippa Soo, returning to narrate her 5th Lily Chu title. This time, Philippa is joined by her real-life husband, Stephen Pasquale. Set in Toronto's wealthy cottage country, aka the Hamptons of Canada, Rich Girl Summer follows the story of Valerie, a down-on-her-luck event planner posing as a socialite's long-lost daughter, while piecing together the secrets surrounding a mysterious family and falling deeper and deeper in love with the impossibly hard-to-read and infuriatingly handsome family assistant, Nico. Caught between pretending to belong and unexpectedly finding where she truly fits in, Valerie learns her summer is about to get far more complicated than she ever planned. She's in over her head and head over heels. Listen to Rich Girl Summer now on Audible. Go to audible.com/richgirlsummer.
it seems like you have such a diverse background across so many different investment types or generation, decades, and asset classes. Let's get your point of view as to how you like to invest your money, considering you've had your ups and downs. So let's go asset class by asset class. So what do you think of pre-IPO venture? As a matter of fact, sorry. Let me pause there. Of your net worth, typically people are doing 60-40, 60% public equities, 40% bonds, 0% into private investments. If it was those three buckets, 60-40-0, I imagine you're not 60-40-0. What's your net worth allocations across those three buckets?
Normally, I would say it's 99% private
Nice.
venture, and 1% cash, or actually maybe more like 20% cash, 80% private venture. But more recently, it's been, well, this is actually sort of private venture, but in public equities. So very recently, I've been involved in kind of this phenomenon that's happening lately, which is the merger of the crypto and equity markets. They're really two different industries. They're not really that connected. It's like people who invest in crypto aren't really similar to people who invest in stocks. But what's been happening lately, and I'm sure you've noticed this and your listeners have noticed this, is that every day there's a new announcement. XYZ company was a $3 million market cap, micro cap, toy company, and suddenly they raise $200 million and buy a stock, a Solana crypto with it, and they become like a crypto equity company. So this has been happening because the laws and restrictions on what is a security have changed since there's been a new SEC commissioner, and this phenomenon is happening. So because I'm sort of kind of an expert in the equity markets and the crypto markets, I'm a logical person to start putting these deals together and taking a stake. And I've done that with one or two companies. One in particular has been doing very well. So
which one is that?
The symbol is TAOX, TAOX, and TAO is a kind of it's a crypto token. It's a phenomenal token, actually. I recommended it to my subscribers back in 2023, and it's an AI. It helps incentivize people to create AI companies, and so it's really in a fast-growing industry inside another fast-growing industry, which is the crypto space. But it's hard to invest in. And so the need for a company that's a stock that's easily to put in your 401k. Now, if you could buy this stock, TAOX is what we changed the ticker, TAOX. The crypto tokens, TAO, TAO. And now with the stock, you could put it in your 401k. You could. There's other benefits of being a stock that owning the pure crypto doesn't have. And so I've put that deal together, and that's been doing well. So there's other deals I put together as well, but they're not yet announced.
So should I assume that you have no bonds?
Yeah, I don't have bonds. I don't like bonds.
Yeah.
Because look, here's the thing with bonds, is that you're lending money for people they're only going to pay you back if they make more than the money you lend them. And if they make more than the money you lend them, then they're a successful company. So I'd rather invest in the company than the loan that makes the successful company.
Right. And then how about other yield-oriented things like private credit or real estate?
No, I don't like, look, real estate as an investment category is interesting. It's never been my cup of tea. And yeah, private credit, look, sometimes there's an intersection between debt and equity. So for instance, convertible debt, you can invest in a company. What happens is I don't like necessarily purely picking stocks, although I do it and I've done it well. But I do like finding opportunities where I could directly put money into a stock. And sometimes that's structured like debt that can convert into equity. So you get an interest payment on it. And then when you decide to convert into equity, you convert into equity. So when I do private deals, I often structure it like convertible debt.
And then the pre-IPO investments, you love that. That's your sweet spot, right? Before they're public, you like to get into the private companies?
Yeah. So that's typically been, like a buddy media type of company.
Yeah.
But I've been invested in a lot of private companies. I'm still invested in a lot of private companies.
Awesome. And then how about crypto? What percentage of your net worth would you say is in crypto?
Maybe again, because let's say counting these equity plays, maybe 10 to 20%.
Got it. And then
I like crypto quite a bit. I would be more into crypto, but private, it's not like I can easily convert private net worth into crypto. So with a lot of cash, I'll keep it in something like crypto.
How about art or collectibles?
0. You know why? Because all investing is about storytelling. And so even a stock, like why is Tesla worth, I don't know, let's hypothetically say 300 times earnings, but McDonald's is worth 10 times earnings? They might even have the same rates of growth on some years. I mean, I'm making an exaggeration here.
Yep.
It's probably not true. But we're told, and Tesla's a bad example, but we're told tech companies are exciting companies. Intel is exciting and McDonald's is boring. But, with storytelling, I find the storytelling to be more invisible with collectibles and things like that. There's no real intrinsic value. People say that about crypto, but they're wrong about crypto.
You want to double down on that? Why is that?
Well, there is intrinsic value in crypto. So for instance, let's just take Bitcoin, and without having to explain Bitcoin at all, I'm not going to explain anything about it, but I can tell you that there was probably 1 million man hours of code put into the initial release of Bitcoin. So anything that has 1 million man hours of code put into it probably has some value. Then right now, I think it takes something like 500 gigawatts, or no, 100 gigawatts a year or more to provide the energy to keep the Bitcoin network secure and people could be confident that their transactions are going through and so on. That's a lot of electricity. I mean, I think all of the US is 500 gigawatts a year. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of work to maintain something that they feel has value. And whether it's storytelling, so all these people maybe are just telling themselves a story, or maybe there is real value in use. Again, I haven't described Bitcoin at all, just the amount of work that is being put into it on a daily basis and the amount of, there's $10 billion worth of incentives per year that Bitcoin issues to people who keep the electricity going on Bitcoin, validation. There's a lot of value in just that. That itself is very expensive.
So just while we're at it, Bitcoin at the moment is around 120,000. Where do you think it's headed, in the years to come?
So, and I'm going to say this being not the biggest supporter of Bitcoin. There's other tokens I like better, but I think Bitcoin has a reasonable chance to hit 250, this year or next, and, 1 million by the end of 2027.
Whoa.
And then I think it's going to go much higher from there. Because here's the thing. Right now, what are we seeing right now? We're seeing two things. One is the same thing that has always played out for Bitcoin, which is that there's a fixed supply of coins. There's only a supply of 21 million coins in the history of Bitcoin. By I think the year 2140, the final Bitcoin will be issued. And there is rising demand. So Ecuador, all transactions are in Bitcoin. The US is going to put Bitcoin in strategic reserves. Other countries are going to put Bitcoin in strategic reserves. And I just mentioned how these companies are, I've seen at least 2 or 3 deals in the past couple of weeks that are about $5 billion or $6 billion worth of deals for companies just to buy Bitcoin, and more are coming. There's 8,000 public companies, and for whatever reason, hundreds of them are raising money to buy crypto, in particular Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is a big trend.
If you're so bullish on Bitcoin, which is totally fair, but you say it's not your most bullish token, what are some 2 other tokens that you're more bullish on, and why?
Yeah, great question. And I am very bullish on Bitcoin, but I would say this coin Tau, Tau is very interesting. To really explain it almost deserves like 3 podcasts. Here's the problem with crypto in general before I talk about Tau. Crypto is, I will admit, hard to explain. Even Bitcoin.
Got a narrative problem.
Is it a digital currency? Is it digital gold? Is it a store of value? What's a blockchain? What's a wallet? What's a smart contract? Like, it's just hard. And Tau is like that. All the cryptos are like that, but Tau is also like that. But Tau is structured almost exactly like Bitcoin. There's 21 million tokens in a lifetime supply, and there's incentives paid out every day to miners. And so when someone is a quote unquote miner on Tau, what they are doing is what they are incentivized to do and they get rewarded Tau tokens for this. What they're incentivized to do is to create useful AI models or hardware or other software that AI developers or consumers can use. So they're either programming their own AI models, or they're hosting an open source AI model, or they're providing extra compute cycles on an NVIDIA GPU. All of these things are kind of added to the Tau network in exchange for rewards. And then consumers or developers then use these models. And the more something is used, then the more rewards those miners get. So the Tau token is basically it's almost like the Tau token is to AI what Bitcoin is to currency. Like Tau is a decentralized AI. It's fueling all of AI. And so I think it has a lot of growth in front of it. So it's about 430 right now, 440. And I think it's easily going to 5 to 10,000 within the next couple of years.
So what would be another one that you love?
Well, so this is really interesting. We all saw a few weeks ago, Circle, a company called Circle went public.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember, but Circle originally was going to go public at $25, went public at $31. It went to $250 within a few days. I don't even know where it is now. Maybe it's like $150, $180. Last time I looked a couple of days ago, it was $180. So it's up huge. And what Circle is it's a company that makes a crypto stablecoin. And a stablecoin is just $1. It's always valued at $1. But the stablecoin industry is the oldest and biggest use case of crypto. So the funny thing is, Bitcoin was meant to be this currency that's not the dollar. A crypto dollar is the biggest use case of the crypto industry right now. It's a $200 billion industry. Started the Tether, the first stablecoin company, started in 2014 and now has $120 billion worth of stablecoins issued. And there was $27.3 trillion worth of stablecoin transactions last year, more transactions or more dollars worth than Visa and MasterCard combined. Because people use it for international payments and people use it as in their own countries as a hedge on the dollar, on their own currencies. So I'm always a picks and shovels guy. So in the 90s, I made websites. In the 00s, I invested in things like Buddy Media. And I like the picks and shovels of the stablecoin industry. So for instance, there's a coin, CRV, it's called Curve. Curve Finance is the company behind it. And what they do is they have, in the crypto world, in the decentralized finance world, they power a stablecoin exchange. So if people exchange their Bitcoin for stablecoins, or maybe their Circle stablecoin for Tether stablecoin for whatever reason, and they do billions of dollars worth of transactions per year, and they give a nice yield as well. And so I think Curve is there are a bunch of tokens like this. Curve is well positioned, among others, to ride this stablecoin growth. So what do I mean by stablecoin growth? Well, I'll give an example. Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, has just the other day came out and said the stablecoin industry, which is worth in the world $200 billion, should be worth over $2 trillion in the U.S. alone. And why would the Secretary of Treasury say that? Like, I've never heard someone make a prediction like that about industry growth. Well, he's saying that because he wants stablecoin companies like Circle make money by selling you this digital dollar, and they sell it for $1. You get to do whatever you want with your Circle stablecoin, and Circle, the company, puts your dollar into Treasury bills, and they keep the 3% spread, that they make on Treasury bills while you have your digital dollar. So what happens is the stablecoin industry, if it grows to $2 trillion, they become the largest lenders to the United States of America. Like that's why every country in the world is going to want the stablecoin industry to grow and use their own Treasury bills as or loans as the collateral. So the stablecoin industry, which again is the biggest and oldest use case of crypto, is going to grow 10 to 20 to 50x over the next couple of years. So I think Curve, which again runs the stablecoin exchange, will be a beneficiary, and there's maybe like a handful of other coins.
Awesome.
That
So
are beneficial.
if you could only choose between public market Circle or
I wouldn't choose public market Circle. It went up too much.
Right. So I was going to say Circle or Curve. You pick Curve, correct?
100%. Yeah. I mean, Circle, of course, was obviously a value proposition when it IPO'd, but I didn't get any shares in the IPO. So I think better than that, though, is the picks and shovels of the stablecoin industry, which Curve and a few others. Well, let's just say in the whole crypto world, I'm a skeptic too. So there's maybe 2 million crypto projects out there. And I would say best case, maybe there's 20 or 30 that actually are real, tokens that provide real utility and will be worth something, and everything else is going to go to zero. I want to tell you how I'm going to start my next business. And I just want to say, I always have a hard time with paperwork. Like, how do I register an LLC? What state do I do it in? What forms do I fill out? I'm incompetent when it comes to any kind of paperwork. But I'm going to use this company, Northwest Registered Agent. That's Northwest Registered Agent. You could use them and you could build your business in just 10 clicks and in 10 minutes or less. Starting a business should be all about ideas and executing and getting customers and building a product. It shouldn't be all this complicated rules and paperwork, but Northwest Registered Agent makes it super simple. They've been helping businesses launch and grow for nearly 30 years. They know what they're doing. And if you want to build your business while keeping your business information secure, Northwest is the partner you need. So don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and set up your business in just 10 clicks in 10 minutes. You can get more information. Just visit northwestregisteredagent.com/James. That's the key part. And start building something amazing. Whatever idea you have, just start. Just start the business today. It's super cheap. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at northwestregisteredagent.com/James. I need to let everyone know that my entire life has changed because of this podcast sponsor, Uplift Desk. Normally, I wake up, get to my desk, and sometimes I'm at my desk sitting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or even more. I hate it. I hate the fact that I no longer move. So I started using the Uplift Desk, and it's completely changed my routine. I'm like happier, and it didn't just improve my posture. I'm moving more. I feel like I'm thinking more clearly. It's like I see more of the world because I'm standing up, and I actually enjoy being at my desk. But even this little punching bag, when I get upset, I can like punch it. I realize how important your workspace is to just your general well-being and health. And it's just important to move more during the day. Uplift Desk definitely helps me be a little healthier or a lot healthier my time when I'm at my desk. I have more energy, more focus. It's only been a few weeks, but I honestly feel happier when I'm standing up at my desk. And people can even tell when I'm on Zoom calls, for instance, that I seem to be more energetic. So look, your workday doesn't have to leave you feeling worn out. Go to upliftdesk.com/James and use the code James to get 4 free accessories, free same-day shipping, free returns, and an industry-leading 15-year warranty that covers your entire desk, plus an extra discount off your entire order. That's upliftdesk.com/James for this exclusive offer. It's only available through this link. So elevate your workspace with Uplift Desk. Go to upliftdesk.com/James for a special offer.
E-commerce business owners know the best way to run a successful business is to keep their customers happy. You build trust with your customers one package at a time. That's why smart retailers use ShipStation. ShipStation helps you run the smoothest order fulfillment process possible and cut costs, not corners. ShipStation streamlines all your orders from everywhere you sell into one easy-to-use dashboard, prints shipping labels, manages returns, and tracks inventory. You can even automate repetitive tasks so your team makes fewer errors. Plus, they get you the lowest possible carrier rates. You'll save up to 88% off UPS, USPS, and DHL Express, and up to 90% off FedEx rates. When shoppers choose to buy your products, turn them into loyal customers with cheaper, faster, and better shipping. Go to shipstation.com/program to sign up for your free trial. There's no credit card or contract required, and you can cancel anytime. That's shipstation.com/program.
So Peter Thiel just put in a bunch of money into Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury company.
BM&R.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think it's very smart. So Tom Lee is making the bet. First off, everybody kind of put Ethereum down for the past year and a half because it wasn't going up for whatever reason.
Yep.
Bitcoin was going up, but not Ethereum.
Right. And Solana,
Everyone said, oh, Solana is better than Ethereum. Everyone was like trashing Ethereum. But Ethereum, for what it does, is by far, it's 10 times bigger than Solana. It's by far the biggest token you would use to make crypto projects. So a lot of and Tom Lee specifically said, he referenced the same industry I just referenced. He specifically said Ethereum powers a lot of the stablecoin industry. So that's why he thinks Ethereum is going to basically flip Bitcoin or rise to even more than be more valuable than Bitcoin. And I might agree with that. I'm more bullish on Ethereum right now than Bitcoin. And you heard me be very bullish on Bitcoin.
So,
by the way,
sorry, Ethereum's at like 3K right now, plus minus. You said that Bitcoin would hit 250 by the end of next year. What's Ethereum going to hit then by the end of next year?
I mean, okay, it's really hard to make predictions. I can make some extreme guess, but I definitely could see that, $30,000 or $40,000 up from 3,000
by the end of next year. You think Ethereum might be 10x?
It could be. I'm not predicting that. I mean, if I were to really make a prediction, I would say 10 to 15.
Okay,
but
we want the real prediction. Okay.
Yeah, no, but 30 though is possible, and 10 to 15 I think is going to happen. I think clearly 5 by the end of this year, but 10 to 15 by the end of next year. And look, Peter Thiel. Let's just look at his background. He knows what he's doing. In terms of digital currencies, he started the first digital currency company, PayPal. So, 30 years ago, he definitely knows. And he's been on. Look, the reason I invested in Buddy Media in the first round is because Peter Thiel was investing in Buddy Media in the first round. So my one rule of investing is that in every investment I do, there has to be someone smarter than me in that investment. And so the key is I don't consider myself so smart. So it's not a high bar, but I always look for who is really smart in this industry that is side by side with me in this investment. They have to have the exact same terms as me in this investment. So Peter Thiel is someone I would always follow into investments. One time, I had an opportunity to invest privately when it was still private in Palantir, and it was a $5 billion valuation at that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, $5 billion, how much really more valuable is it going to be? Now it's like a $100 billion company on its way to being $1 trillion company. So I didn't invest in that. So one time I did not invest side by side with Peter Thiel.
You broke your own rule.
I did. What I always look like if Warren Buffett buys IBM, I'm just making this up. If Warren Buffett were to buy IBM at 100 and now the stock's at 95, what am I going to, if I run into Warren Buffett at a party, what am I going to say? Like, Warren, how could you be so stupid? Like, you bought it at 100, now it's like, no, I would just buy, it would be like Warren Buffett was my intern. I'd buy IBM at a discount to where my free intern, Warren Buffett, was telling me to buy it.
Yep. Let's change the chapter here for a second, which is the economy. Obviously, inflation's heating up just a little bit. We're not exactly sure where it's headed. Jobs are seeming pretty tight. There's talk about rate cuts, but who knows based on inflation and what the tariff impact's going to be. Overall, stock market's doing well. Crypto's really catching a bid. Risk on assets are starting to feel a little bit better. It's kind of unknown what's happening in the real estate market. Open-ended question. What's happening in the economy and the stock market for the coming year?
The economy is doing great. And the reason the economy is doing great, other than just the fact that in general, the US economy is always doing great, is AI is, and I don't want to say this as a cliche because I feel like everyone's saying this, but AI in every single Fortune 500 company, in every single division of every Fortune 500 company, they're being told by their bosses, you must use AI to improve productivity and profitability. And they're doing it because there is so much money you can save and so much more money you can make using AI. A typical example will be, I talked to the CEO of freelancer.com or freelance.com, and they're the biggest marketplace. There's like 60 million freelancers who every day are bidding for jobs that are posted on freelance.com. He said the number of freelancers has like tripled in the past year or so because of AI. And like it used to be the case, if let's say a record label needs a design for a record album cover, okay, you would hire a designer and he or she would take a week or two to design the cover, maybe more, and charge a lot of money. Now you can use AI and anybody could do 10 really good looking record covers in an hour. So the time to do things, now maybe you need a designer for the final touch up, but the ability to do high quality output, whether it's code, write something, legal work, we're starting to see this in the medical field in various ways. Everything from patient diagnosis to surgery is being done better and better by AI and particularly with the addition of robotics. So this is a theme of the economy that kind of began, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, but is going to continue like for the next 50 years, and it's going to be incredible.
So
for productivity has to improve for U.S. debt to go up. And that's what's happening.
Sorry, productivity has to improve for U.S. debt to go down.
No, for U.S. debt to go up. For us to justify borrowing more money.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The U.S. economy has to be more productive. We have to produce ourselves out of kind of a debt hole.
Understood.
And that's what we're going to do. Because interest rates are not going to do it. Like cutting interest rates is not going to do it.
So let's do a lightning round here. So quick answers. So in the next 12 months, are we going to have a recession? As a matter of fact, before the next election cycle in November of next year, will we have a recession? Yes or no?
No.
And will we see rate cuts by then?
Yes, 100%.
Literally 100%, meaning like 100 basis points?
No, I mean,
or
100%.
Yes. What is the basis points that you think we'll have?
Well, Trump's calling for 300 basis points, which I think if you were to do that, it actually would cause a problem for the economy. So, but I can easily see, 100 basis points before the midterm elections.
Right. So 1% cut.
Yeah. Not all at once, I hope.
Understood. And then how about unemployment? What is it going? Is it getting better or worse by then?
No, I think it's going to get better. People are worried AI is going to take jobs, but it's going to be the reverse. AI is going to create, millions of jobs. So I think it's going to stick around.
But isn't unemployment quite tight already?
Yeah. So, and that could cause inflation. But the issue with inflation is if productivity increases, you need the money to fuel, to keep the engine going. So it's okay to have more money in the system if productivity is going up, and that's what AI is going to do.
So that was my next question, which is inflation. Does it stay steady at where it's at, or is it up or down until the next cycle, the next election?
Probably a little bit up. People say tariffs cause inflation. They don't. Tariffs actually cause deflation. Yes, the products being tariffed will go up, but that's not what inflation means. Inflation means when it's across the board. So I constantly am reminding people of that. But I do think because the money supply has been going up lately, and because of these increases in productivity, I do think, and because of the tightness of the job market, I think inflation will go up a little bit, which is why it's going to be hard to justify cutting rates. But they need to cut rates because the U.S. needs to borrow trillions of dollars to roll over older debt. So they're going to have to cut rates at some point just so we don't have hundreds of billions of dollars a year of extra interest rate payments.
Interesting. So you sound quite optimistic in general. What are your...
And not for foolish reasons. You look at your own life. Like AI is, and I hate to keep banging the table about AI. AI is changing your life. Like probably everything you do has some component of AI that has improved your life. But also crypto as well. Look, last year, there was $27.3 trillion of stablecoin payments. Most of that was cross-border payments. So someone from Mexico working here, sending money back to their family, they send it through a stablecoin rather than going through a bank or through Visa or whatever, because the fees are 1/10, 1/100th what they would be through traditional ways. So there's a lot of things are deflationary. AI makes things deflationary. I don't have to pay $1,000 for a logo. I can pay $10 for a logo. I don't have to pay $3 to send $100 to my family across the world. I could spend 3 cents. So technology is deflationary. So that's going to fight the inflation.
What are the watch-outs, though? What are some of the concerns that, although a lot of the positives that you're saying could happen for productivity, et cetera, what are the things could railroad this, or maybe could go sideways?
Yeah, I'd be worried about if there's another COVID-like situation where they suddenly, inflation is very related to the supply of money. in the world. If you had $1 in your pocket and suddenly everyone in the world went from having $1 to $2, then all prices would double just automatically. And so that's what happens when they print trillions of dollars. It becomes a significant percentage of the overall wealth in the world. I mean, 40% of all the money printed in history was printed in the year, between 2020 and 2021. So,
Is that true? Is that right? 40% of all the money is between 20 and
printed
2020.
in history.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have to be careful now printing money. And this is not who's president, who's not president. This is not who's Federal Reserve, who's not in Federal Reserve. A lot of this was a reaction to a disaster like COVID. Similarly, a disaster like the Great Recession in 2008 or a disaster like 9/11. A lot of money was printed to avoid people being scared. That has some good sides, but every government action, and I'm not going to be all anti-government here, but every government action has good intentions and sometimes good consequences, but also always some bad consequences. And you have to be watchful of that, particularly if you're playing around with the supply of money in the world.
I know that you already mentioned some interesting crossover between crypto and AI. Are there any other topics or things that you'd want to mention in that area?
I mean, when you really do the deep dive on Tau, I am so excited about that, which is why I started an entire public company just to invest in Tau. So, I think Tau could potentially become even bigger than Bitcoin, which sounds ridiculous when I say it. But again, it's structured very similarly and has more wider use cases. So, and can be used as a currency as well. So I'm very bullish on that.
So you're referring to TauX, is that right?
TauX is the stock. Tau is the crypto.
Right. So TauX is something that people can just buy on Robinhood or their brokerage?
Yeah, they can buy anywhere. Yeah, it's a trades on the NASDAQ.
And is that basically like a Tau ETF, like a Bitcoin ETF would be for like Grayscale, etc.?
No, only because the Grayscale ETFs don't allow staking.
I see.
And none of the ETFs right now allow staking. So with Tau, we can actually make revenues and earnings by staking it into the Tau ecosystem. So people can use it as incentives to create AI companies.
Oh, so is that the equivalent of like getting yield?
Yeah.
Perfect. So you obviously are super knowledgeable. What is it that you watch, listen to, or read that makes James James?
Of course, reading and watching all these things are very important. But the most important, and I can't survive without doing those two things, but the most important thing is doing. And, I've been following the crypto worlds for a long time and have written quite a bit about crypto and read a lot about crypto and talked to all sorts of crypto experts. But now actually doing major things in the crypto ecosystem forces me to kind of go to a level that I've never gone before.
I love it. So not about what you watch, listen, or read, but rather doing. That's a good one. We haven't heard that one before. And then you've already given us some predictions, but I'm going to put you on the spot for the official 3 years out segment, which is what is one public markets asset that you would invest in today that you think will do really well 3 years out? And what is one private asset? Private could be a public crypto token, but not on the public markets. So something that is not considered a New York Stock Exchange type pick. So what would be your picks and why?
Yeah, so of course, TauX is going to be my public market pick because that's going to do very well. And I'm going to try to pick because you have TauX, you don't need to own the Tau crypto token because we'll do the owning of that for you.
Right.
So a crypto token, look, if you want to be safe and conservative, I would say Ethereum, actually. I agree with Tom Lee and Peter Thiel. But if you want slightly more risk, but I think maybe higher reward is this, Curve that I mentioned, or I'll throw another one out there, which is Aave, AAVE, does lending against stablecoin collateral in the crypto world. So that's going to also be linked to stablecoin growth.
So a TauX in the public markets is priced at what today?
It's at like 9, something like that.
And if you had to predict what it would be 3 years from now, what do you think it would be?
200.
That's quite the bold prediction. And Ethereum, you already gave.
So I think it's going to go along with the growth of Tau.
Sure. And Ethereum, you already gave us your prediction. So Curve and Aave are both kind of originated during like DeFi summer, and they kind of went down. You feel like they're going to have still a huge run ahead of them?
Oh, yeah. Because I think with this whole kind of, DeFi summer and crypto winter, like all these seasons of crypto, they don't really exist. It's a story people have told themselves. But cryptos that are used are going to grow. And the stablecoin industry, again, is going to grow like 10 to 20x in the next couple of years. So that means Curve, which has the biggest stablecoin exchange, that's going to grow. And Aave, which is the biggest lender of stablecoins, that's going to grow. So yeah, it has nothing to do with yes, everything's been correlated to Bitcoin to some extent, but that's going to start to change also.
Right. Amazing. Just looking at my notes here, we covered a lot going back from when you started with computer science and being one of the only people that knew how to code, nevertheless knew how to actually code a website in New York City, getting to do that for HBO. And before you knew it, American Express sold your company for $15 million and proceeded to lose all your money, which I like how you said it. There's making it, there's keeping it, and there's growing it. And you still have to learn how to keep it and grow it, but you sure were good at making. You need to have a lot of optimism to be a good investor. You have the idea of, getting 10 ideas a day and exercise your brain. Just like your legs, you need to be able to make sure you're using your creative muscles so they don't atrophy. You're well known for Choose Yourself, the book, which you went through your own experience of the ups and downs of your investing and making your money and losing your money. You gave us some perspective on how you like to invest your net worth, about 20% cash, 60% at pre-IPO, 20% crypto. But your pre-IPO and your crypto are really having a crossover. You definitely stay away from all that other stuff, which seems boring to you, which is the real estate, the private credit, the bonds, the art collectibles. It's really all about the storytelling that you're looking for. You gave us some bold predictions with Bitcoin potentially at 250K by the end of next year and even 1 million by 2027. I'm going to call you out on that one. So I'd like to have you back on there if we actually hit 1 million.
Sure.
And
look, whether it does or doesn't, I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk about it either way.
It's all good.
I'll be happy to come back on.
So you're a big fan of Tau, and obviously you're looking for the token for AI, so decentralized AI. You're a fan of Curve, and then you were pro Ethereum as well, whether it's through BMNR and following Peter Thiel, even though you broke your own rule once. And you're a fan of the productivity as to how that'll improve our economy. There is no recession in your future. Rates will probably go down by 100 basis points. And you do think unemployment is going to stay tight, but inflation is going to go up a little bit. You did say, though, technology is totally deflationary. Awesome factoid, which is 40% of all money printed was actually printed during COVID between 20 and 2021. So that is awesome. You didn't tell us any things that we need to watch, listen, or read, but you did say just do, which I am a huge fan of that. And of course, you finished with your 3 years out predictions. You double, tripled, and quadrupled down on TauX and Tau, saying that it would go from 9 to 200. You're a fan of Ethereum, and you gave us some extra bonus picks with Curve and Aave, stablecoin exchange, and a stablecoin lender. James, we covered a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Just when you thought summer couldn't get any hotter, Pluto TV is turning up the heat with thousands of free movies. Presenting Summer of Cinema. Stream your favorite blockbuster films like Gladiator,
I will have my vengeance.
Good Burger,
This is what I call fast food.
Beverly Hills Cop, The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, and Julie and Julia.
Bon appetit.
All for free on your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.